And we're back. Hey guys, Devin Fraze here again in the finals of the 2023 Pro Qualifying Tournament. That's right. We have now just two people competing for the top position and the next North American Pro. People came from all over the country in the U.S. and also from Mexico this time, as well as some people who transplanted from Canada to the U.S. a while back. But of course, Canada's part of the family too. Yeah, for the final match, I finally got the audio working. That's right. And hopefully when we switch over to our guests here, their audio is going to work too. We have two incredible guests to commentate with us today. We have Sathya and Opal. Let me bring them on. Hi, guys. Hello. That's great. So today we're going to be covering the game between Michael Chen, playing as Black, I believe, and Eric Lee. Eric Lee winning 2-0, both of them winning 2-0 yesterday, but Eric Lee winning against Eric Yoder in the match of the Erics. And man, it was an intense first round. The Eric Yoder winning kind of handily, then falling behind, and then clawing his way back, and then losing on time. It was baffling. And then getting swept in the next game as well. And so, the real question will be, can Lee take down the Titan Chen? And that'll be kind of what we're figuring out.
And now we are alone.
Wait, guys, we're streaming, right? What's our name?
What's our name? My name is Sathya. Your name is Opal.
Oh my god, I did not know.
Okay, I think everything is fine now, is what chat is telling us. And Devin, chat can't see Devin's face, but he is having a time. He just laughed and left.
Guys, look at this.
Oh my god. Wow, it's us. It's incredible.
I look like a divorced mom.
I have very little frame of reference, so I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh my god.
Okay, so at least we have the board now in view on the stream.
Wait, someone's telling me I'm out of frame. Whatever.
Remember that chat will have a little bit of a lag compared to what we can see on our streaming webpage. So that's probably where that's coming from. Similarly, if you have Twitch unmuted, you'll hear yourself, albeit with like a slight delay.
Okay.
I totally trusted Devin to crop me in, and he did me justice. So that's cool. Thank you, sir. And we already have the game underway, and Trevok is already making comments in the game. Let me link you all to the game just in case. And I'll also provide the Pro Qual webpage as well.
The top.
Okay, so there was no round one this morning. This is round one of the finals between Michael Chen and Eric Lee. Thanks, Goshi. So let us see what goes on.
Is this R1? What's R1?
R1 is round one.
Oh, anyways, guys.
Incredibly efficient. Go players are efficient like that. The stream says round two. Okay. Then I'm sure Devin will fix that whenever.
It's okay. Go is about being confused,
That's very wise. Well, I totally agree with you, unironically. I feel like if you're not confused in Go, then either you have the assistance of an AI or you just have a really healthy dose of confidence,
No,
okay.
I lost 6-0 US Open.
Yo, that's cool. The last Open I played in was like in San Diego, and I went like 2-4, so I totally get it. Okay, so briefly getting into it.
Oh my god, they're being mean to the board.
They're not being mean to the board. No. That's Justin Ting, right? He was commentating earlier, day before yesterday. Time is a conundrum, but anyway, so we have Michael Chen, or as he's known on Twitch as Z Chen Mike. He actually streams on Twitch, Opal, if you knew. And he normally streams games on Fox and lets us see a glimpse of what Fox 9 8 can feel like. So one day maybe we too can strive to be at his level. But he has the black pieces, and Eric Lee has white. And I must admit, I'm not super familiar with Eric Lee's style, but I had to catch up, right? I had to catch up on this tournament to be ready for this stream. And I don't, it's pretty cool. It's a cool style. It's very like calling you out on stuff. Like if he doesn't believe that you have a threat, he'll just ignore it or like make you prove it. But at the same time, it feels very like the shapes, at least to me, and I'm weaker than them, obviously, seemed a little bit weird, but like it also seems measured and controlled in a way. And from Chen style, at least from what I've seen him on stream, is very like, he's normally playing blitzscrims on stream, mind you, but he's very like, yeah, kill me if you can, you know? But his games in this tournament have been definitely more deliberate, in my humble opinion. Okay, so let's get into it. We have the double 3-4 opening and 1 star point, 1 low 3-4, low approach and kick and jump. So the meaning behind this Joseki, oftentimes you'll see like a Kosumi or, you know, sometimes this one, or less common, I guess, a little bit less common is like a pincer. The reason white kicks here normally is to get sente. So white is saying you're gonna respond because normally when your stones get kicked, you add a move to them, and then white will add a move to make sure white doesn't get like surrounded on the corner, something like this. But so after white expands on the side and protects the corner, not like that, a different corner, and then black normally adds a move here, or black can tanuki. But if black tanukis, white can get kind of pincered and attacked. So the reason white chose this presumably is to get sente, and if it's white sente, white simply approaches the other corner.
Is this an AI move or like?
You're talking about the Kosumi here?
Yes.
So yes and no. This is so Kosumi moves have been around for a while, and I know others in chat like Travoke and other historians of Go would know this way better than me. It's considered a slower move. It was popularized by Shusaku, but that's a specific opening. It's not, I don't think it's when white has this corner, but at least when I was first learning Go a decade ago, it wasn't super common. But certainly it was a human move, and then it was just repopularized by AI. And the meaning behind this is saying like it's definitely more gentle in a way, like it's not as fast paced, but it's saying like, hey, you have the option to, you know, tanuki, but later on I have a myriad of options. I can play a pincer, I can press you, I just have more flexibility. I can expand along the side somewhere. So it's seen a resurgence certainly since AI. But no, fair question.
Well, I mean, it's not even like a fake question. I just don't know. Anyways.
Wait, sorry. Just so we're all clear, you, me, and everyone else listening, I did say fair question and not fake question.
Okay.
But, okay, cool. There's no fake questions. The only thing that's fake in this world are probably like birds. Just a government conspiracy. Yeah, birds aren't real.
Are turkeys birds?
They taste like birds.
Yeah, but like, so then what are we eating for Thanksgiving? Like,
I think it depends on the person, but it's a fair question. I'd have to find some government files to back up any kind of answer I'd want to give or not give. Okay. So white has chosen to tanuki. Like I said, it's a little bit more of a gentle move, the Kosumi here at Q5. So white has chosen to tanuki and is approaching the top right corner. This is a pretty common joseki where black takes the corner territory and white gets some kind of thickness on the outside. And white chose to extend here. And there's like a few different options, but this is probably one of the most basic and most reasonable and most well-known joseki continuations. So black approached and white answered with Olgema. So this is a little bit less common. They actually used to do this a lot back in the day, and I'm talking like historical Go days, but I think the meaning is slightly different now when we play it nowadays. It's basically saying, as compared to this move, which is like common joseki, right? If you can imagine this a little bit older now, but white gets the corner, black backs off. This is basically saying you can have the corner, or like I'm not gonna really resist you too hard when you want to get the corner, but in exchange I'll get more faster pace movement towards the side, and maybe less territory in the corner, but maybe just faster play, I would say. So it's a little bit weird, and we'll see what happens now when black jumps in the corner and saying, hey, you said you want to give me the corner, show me you want to give me the corner. And so white does. I presume white does. I haven't actually seen this yet, so it'd be funny if I was wrong. Yep. And so we see white kind of switching here to the left side. So the reason we have maybe this one, and then that's followed by black's Sagari B14, is saying that, so black will most likely add another move in the top side anyway, but instead of just, maybe giving this, it probably doesn't change too much, but it's basically trying to harass white a little bit, saying, are you going to stop me from connecting? Like, how much does that mean to you, right? And so if white were to play here, maybe something like this will happen. And then maybe something like this. I don't know that this is super unreasonable, and I'm also suspicious that I'm not playing the best moves. Maybe black will answer this one first. And it'll be kind of similar to the game as well, but it's basically saying, how much are you committing to disconnecting or like getting rid of my ability to connect my groups on the first line, I think is the meaning behind this one. And white is apparently pretty committed to that. So black is going to make life in some territory. And then this clamp is really cool. I haven't really seen this clamp a lot, but I guess it makes sense. Like white wouldn't really want to extend or give double hane or even cut. But sorry if I'm talking way too much. Like, feel free to cut me off anytime.
No, it's okay. I'm just like, okay. So I have a question. So say white goes like the move, Yeah.
Okay.
Is black like close to being dead, or like?
Yeah, that's a good question. And by black, you mean the three stones, right? B14,
Yes.
C14, and D13. I think that is certainly the idea. So the idea probably with this clamp is to make black heavy, or to capture black or capture a piece of black and therefore make the white group safer. So this shouldn't happen in the real game.
Oh.
But if black were to connect here, then we can see if white comes like this, then black doesn't really have a good way of pushing back against it. Even this one you can probably give up like this. And then if again, this is not assuming they'll play this way, but then you can kind of see like that's a more flexible way of playing. So black shouldn't connect. So that's what we've understood so far. But this is probably to make black a little bit heavier or to get a better exchange. So if black were to play like this, then I would be tempted to just capture the two stones like this. But now we force black to make this exchange. It's kind of like if white had played this one, and then if black captures sorry, I forgot the original shape. I was trying to Tawadi and be cool. Okay, that was the other one. So we play here, and then if white plays here, okay, and then if black plays this cut, okay. So it's like, if black plays this cut and capture and like this, and then like we kind of get this exchange. I don't know how good of an exchange that is, which makes me think capturing might not be right, if I'm being honest with you. But that gets a little bit into the weeds, and we needn't test it too much.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, sorry. So basically, I can at least say with pretty good certainty this is to make black have a decision what they want to do with the three stones here, how they're going to treat them. And in the game, we see that black does want to save all of them, and white is subsequently getting some kind of press on the outside. So black stones will probably not die here, but white gets these kinds of forcing moves on the outside.
Wait, but like the black stones on the inside, they're already dead, right?
You're talking about these B14?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so how would we kill them?
White would probably go down to like A11.
Fair point. Yeah, it's a good idea. And then, so if black plays A12, then obviously black will get captured, right? So what black has to do is play from the outside. And so in this way, when white tries to take the liberty, it's actually self-Atari. But that's a good question. So it's like so when we see how this was sacrificed, so at this moment, white probably knew that they're not going to capture, actually probably even before that, they knew that they're not going to capture the clump of backstones. But compared to maybe playing like this, for example, where sure, you still have this stone here for endgame and black is still safe, you can compare this result to what white did in the game, which was to sacrifice a stone or two, like this one. And what white got in exchange is Sente, and sorry, they didn't play that far, and some thickness on the outside. Hey, chat. Yeah. I'm totally an expert on one thing, and that is the self-Atari. It is me. But that is kind of the idea behind the clamp and following sequence. So we can see that. Sorry. Now white is asking, hey, are you going to give me this endgame later on, which will force black to live in the corner? And it's pretty big. So if I were a weaker player, which I am, and I was playing against these guys in a tournament, I'd be like, oh, I'm so scared.
I'm like literally.
It's all relative though, right? Like I'm weak compared to these people, and that's what matters most. So what I'm trying to say is, like, when your opponent plays something like this against you, you have to have like either really good confidence in your reading ability, or you have to know your life and death. And at my level, Fordon, I should know most of these corner shapes, right? But what I'm trying to say is, like, against a stronger opponent, I might believe them, and if I didn't have enough time to read it out, I'd be like, oh, you're right, I totally have to make life. Now let me make sure I'm fully alive. And then they just got all these exchanges because I was not a coward, but like low-key a coward. Like I was like, I don't really trust myself to live here, so I'm just going to respond to it. But that's so slight digression. Like that's why we study life and death. Like a lot of it is to capture, like find out the vital point to kill our opponents and improve our reading skills. But a lot of it is also just making sure we don't add unnecessary stones to make life. So a lot of people, they'll lose a move or even two moves thinking they're not alive and they have to add a stone. And that is like basically as detrimental as, maybe not as detrimental as dying in the first place, but like that's also why we study life and death.
Oh yeah, because like I'm like really bad at like life and death problems, and then like most of the times I just feel like, oh my god, actually I have to protect this part first, and then the other person will like get most of the territory.
No, that's exactly right. That is, and I'm pretty sure that's shared feeling throughout most skill players' lives. Sorry, Pat is mentioning ladders, and the one person that isn't supposed to share it is sharing about it. I digress. Okay, so black Tanuki'd, and white came back to play this endgame, and black answered. But white answered this way. And the difference between these two moves is something, and I do not know. Why is this better? Because we're expecting. I don't know. I don't know why G18 was played. And if chat has any ideas, I am all ears for it. It's basically saying that the follow-up. No, but there shouldn't be a big difference between these two in terms of follow-ups, right?
They're saying it's probably a Sentai for white.
Right. So I agree that. I guess the question I should have asked is the difference between G18 and F18, basically. So yes, they are probably both senteing against the corner. Totally agreed. But just this choice in shape basically is something that I guess strikes me as unusual, and maybe it's my lack of experience or whatever. But that's all it was. F18 has less effect on side and center. Okay, so chat is basically saying that, and it makes sense, right? That this stone, I guess it's already marked, has more of an influence. That was the worst arrow ever. I'm so sorry. More of an influence this way. And I really don't like the color contrast between that and the board. But yeah, so they're both centering into the corner. And I guess white chose this one because it has more thickness and influence. But
the
when
arrow
you're that
just
strong, you
ruined
get to make
the
these
aesthetic.
choices. Sorry, what was that?
The arrow just like ruined the whole aesthetic.
Yeah, it's kind of what I do. Let me just get some sparkling water.
Water.
It's good hydration. It's
Oh my
important.
god, everyone needs to stay hydrated. Like, water is important. You'd break out if you don't drink enough water.
Yeah, and I have broken out so many times in life, and definitely because I was underhydrated. Dehydrated? Anyway, let's continue with the game. So black plays the Atari, which is one difference, right? Like if white had a stone here, this wouldn't be an Atari. But of course, the players have enough skill to know this difference. And so white tanukis from here, because again, white is not trying to kill the corner. I wonder how much black really gained out of R8 if this is the kind of situation in the corner. Seems kind of painful. But we'll see how the game progresses.
Oh, wow.
A peep.
Okay. No, if like I was playing, I'd like freak out and be like,
yeah, no, I think it's definitely a reasonable move to maybe not freak out about, but certainly try to understand the meaning behind it, right? So a peep precurses a cut of some sort, right? And so assuming like this side is settled and this cut doesn't seem so scary, but I mean, I guess it can be annoying. So maybe direction of play is wrong here. But basically a peep is hinting at or looking at a cut of some sort, right? Although I'm not really sure what exactly the threat of the cut is here. But let us see. It is a peep at the very least. So white plays this one in the game, which means that simply connecting has some issue with it. Sorry, not to get into some kind of rabbit hole, but I'm very curious.
It's interesting because like it feels like it's going to die, but like it's also not.
And by it here, you mean what? Which the peeping stone?
The black, yes.
It is. So a lot of times, it's really cool because like unlike real world, or I guess if I were a real world general, I wouldn't really want to throw a soldier out to die. But I guess if on the big scale of a war, it would. I digress. This isn't. But a lot of times, peeps and probes are meant to just kind of see what your opponent will do, and then they're often left alone. So it's more of like a non-committal kind of like scout that's thrown out there, and you can get maybe a good exchange before you let them finish their sacrifice, similar to the stones on the left side. But black is saying, I'm really gonna threaten you. You better listen up. That's kind of what these moves are saying. Insofar as, so if it was just a peep and white responded, then theoretically you can leave it alone. This one's a little bit different because it gives white some good shape, but by itself, giving up this one stone is not it's not a huge deal. But by continuing to add to it, it makes a group heavier, right? It's more points. It's harder to throw away. And so black is basically saying, I want to cut you, but I realize that my 3 stones with 4 liberties probably aren't gonna do super well in this fighting. So that's why I'm gonna prepare the cut by jumping out first.
Okay.
And so it's basically saying, hey, look, I'm making my group stronger. Do you feel any more trepidation towards your cut at F16? I believe that's kind of like the conversation that's being had. Leo, I think I'm not sure, but I like basically the language of adding stones to a group like this is probably saying it's going to be some kind of focal point, whether it being attacked or attacking is another story. So white plays F19, kind of asking about black's corner, and black captures the ko once. This is something that's seemingly overlooked a lot, but if you have the opportunity, if someone like sets up a ko shape, even if you know you're going to lose the ko and you might have to go back and play another move for it, take the ko once. you don't lose anything for taking the ko once. So that's kind of what black is asking you to do. Even if black thinks they're going to lose the ko, they're like, there's no reason to concede the ko right now, so I'm going to take the ko once. So remember this, take the ko once.
I did ko for the longest time because like I thought it was just like I have to remember that, and I can't remember that.
I'm going to be super honest, and this is not, I'm not going to try to save face or anything. This shouldn't be ko for the life and death of the group. But certainly if we give up this, then it'll be certainly way worse for the corner. And I think, okay, let me actually think here for a second. This looks pretty dead to me, or at least it looks not promising. But I'm completely wrong. It's like totally fine. I can't be right. Sorry, chat. Forgive I know it says Fordon, and I know this is not a Fordon showing, but this seems wrong. Oh, what? No, I'm bad. Sorry, maybe my first move is wrong. It's this kind of ko? Question mark? I don't remember these shapes, chat. But yeah, I'm not sure. Because if like this, and we know it's gonna live, right? No problems here. If we say that like this, then if here, then this is the natural move, right? Because you're trying to make mi of b19 and a16. And I'm pretty sure I cut the yomi'd something here. Not just like this, right? And it should die. Because if you try to play like this, it's an Atari. And if you try to connect, then you could lose this eye, right? So then black will have to capture once. But then it becomes a ko, and black has to capture twice, and now it's a ko to make this I. If I am correct. If I am not correct, then chat, you're welcome, more than welcome, to call me out, and I will appreciate it. So what it looks like is, but that's if white gets this move. So I can't find an unconditional life for black, but needless to say, corners are hard, y'all. I'm not running away. I will admit any kind of fault, but needless to say, corners are wrong. And also that white shouldn't be, like, this ko is not light for black. This ko means a lot for black. So black should not lose black should not lose the ko. Thank you, Killer Ducky, for corroborating that. OGS chat is saying that it's a ko. I appreciate that.
That's such a good username, honestly.
Killer Ducky. Yeah. It's a good name. Okay, so now that we know that is what will happen if black loses the ko, then we know that what black has to gain is, but if black wins this ko, then black is unconditionally alive, right? And if you look at the points, it's quite a few points, one way or another. So this is not really a ko that black wants to lose. But remember, so white started the ko, which means that white wants to basically bully black into this kind of shape.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be alive, is it? Try?
Again, you ask these difficult questions. So if this shape, right? No, I'm just teasing. So this one we know as a famously dead shape. But the problem is, here's a ko to. So okay, my order is not right, because in this situation, no, it's still a ko, because if white ignores it here and here, then black's gonna make one eye here, right? So the reason this is dead, stereotypically speaking, is that if this ko wasn't a thing, black can't play here, right?
Yeah, no. Oh my god.
And if black can't block here, then any move black plays inside, it will eventually come to that same shape. But because there's a ko here, there's always this ko possibility. So it looks like one of those really, almost always it's going to be a ko kind of things. Which means we probably white's probably not really intent on killing this corner immediately. Most likely the story that will happen is white will create some fighting elsewhere and then come back and play the ko when there's basically nothing to lose, when there's more ko threats and more options to be weighed. Because right now neither side has enough ammo to really decide this locally, I think, if it's a ko. So anyway, white offers the ko first, right?
Mhm.
White creates the ko shape, and we remember what we said, that black should always capture the ko once. It's a free
Yep.
ko threat, right? You're basically making your opponent use one ko threat, and so that's my variation. Forgive me. So black captures the ko, and white has to use a ko threat, right?
Mhm.
And so black makes sure the group is dead by cutting them off at B in 9, and white captures the ko, and then black plays the ko, and then white captures the ko. Okay, so let me actually just go back to this reading real quick. Is this really a ko? So if white plays here,
I just feel like black is really dangerous right now.
and I get it, and I would feel that way too. Like, remember when I said, like, if this were me in the opening, I would have played like F18 immediately instead of tanuking to R8, and that's really because I don't have a lot of confidence when it comes to like these more intricate corner problems. But remember, if black does not die, and if black does get a ko, then basically he got 2 moves already on the board, and white has to win the ko. So you have to like walk this fine line of when do I add a move, right? But this looks like ko to me based on our previous variations. I don't want to be. There's like 2 different ways of going about it, but it seems like it's going to be ko. Okay, so white captures and saying, hey, if you don't add a stone here, you're going to have some problems. And black is saying, I've already, committed to this. This is now going to be something like, so remember, black got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 moves, right, for what happened to the upper left. Now, don't get me wrong. This is kind of scary as an upper left result. Although I guess it was technically white's corner in the first place, but like, if your stones get to be in this situation, whether or not they're alive or dead, it's pretty painful, right? So if we look at just this top left part of the board, we can say that white is like overwhelmingly doing really well, right? But that's not what go is. You have to look at the whole board and what compensation black got. So black is like, yeah, I'll let you damage my corner, but I'm getting 1, 2, 3 moves on the outside for it, right? So the question is white's compensation enough? So as we know that if black plays here, nope, one moment, sorry. We know that if black plays here, it's going to be like some kind of ko, right?
Yeah.
And if that is true, if it's not true, forgive me, Jack.
I mean,
but
I'm just going with it.
No, for sure. And so it's saying like, I always have this opportunity, right? So I'm going to ignore it, right? I'm going to ignore it. And if you really want to capture my corner, you have to play another move. So if you're willing to give me 4 moves, then I'll let you have my corner. But in those 4 moves, I will prove to you that that corner is like not the point. That's not the place where you should have been focusing your attention. That's what black is saying. So most likely both players will ignore it, and then later on they'll go back and resolve this corner. If it really is a ko, we'll find out together. I'm sure it'll come up later in the game. Someone has to add a move here eventually. Pretty sure. So, okay, so white responded to the peep as players ought to do, and black cuts on the outside, and then cuts on the inside.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's actually a
do that.
Yeah. So there's actually kind of a not silly, but there's like a small thing you can remember is cut the side that you don't want, right?
Oh.
So generally speaking, the side you cut on will be captured, like we see in the game, and you'll save the other cut. There are times where this could be like your opponent doesn't have to do that, right? Your opponent can play here, for example. But like in this situation, white would be probably pretty painful. In the continuing, if there's no ladder, which I think white has this ladder, pretty sure, 99% sure. It wouldn't be ideal. And maybe black doesn't even, and black should probably extend here. But my point is, it's not 100% guarantee, but an easy way to remember is cut the side you don't want.
Oh, okay.
So black's cutting stone got captured. No, this ladder is too easy, chat. This ladder is too easy. Surely white has that ladder. And black extends in the center or into the corner, getting the cornerstones, and white comes out here. So
wow.
Yeah. This is kind of like the story of this game is going to be 2 things. One is the 3 moves that black got in exchange for what happened in the corner, and how black's going to handle these 3 stones. That'll be probably the focal point of the game, because you can see everywhere else is relatively solid.
Yeah.
Like there's some endgame to be played, but these areas are not really interesting anymore. And even this one, right? It's all alive, right? So the only interesting fight will happen is probably in the center, with the square stones, and maybe if that is a ko in the upper left. I've committed to the bit now. Like if I'm wrong about the ko in the upper left, like it's just gonna be wrong forever. You know how like if you've ever reviewed a game with AI and it's like both of us ignored this one thing and like AI is just like play that move. I'm never gonna read that Life and Death any more than I already have. So if this is annoying you,
wide open.
Sorry, what?
Oh, sorry.
No.
Is the bottom like wide open?
You mean down here?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's wide open to an extent. So this is a great question. So in the opening, right, we play stones. We normally play them in corners, but the story of the opening is to get stones on the board, get groups that you want to play in the middle game with, right? Play the middle game out with. And so really we only come to territory when it comes to the end game, is when we worry about territory. So if you have a choice between playing a move down here as white or black, really, versus adding a move in the center, I can understand where the choice would be maybe a difficult one, because you're, like you said, right? If we go by the principle that we should play moves in the open areas, right? Because that's the most effective use for them, then theoretically we should play a stone around here.
Oh, okay.
But to counterbalance that is the idea that if there's a group to be attacked or defended, we should give that more priority as well. So there's another reason for that, is that currently these stones are so the stone in the corner is relatively light. It can settle pretty easily, or it can run away pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And the stones on the left, this ponuki shape, is pretty resilient. It's pretty hard to capture this ponuki, and it's pretty hard to make a reasonable attack out of it. So maybe if I were to hazard a guess, white is saying that I'm behind on cash, because we can see on the board that black has a lot of cash, right? Like
yes.
the left side, the bottom left side, the upper right side, a little bit of the right side here. And there may or may not be this I'm so actually, hey, chat, can someone tag me in chat and please tell me the status of this life and death in the top left, just so because I'm getting super self-conscious now, because it'll also affect how I count the game.
Oh, interesting.
But basically what I'm trying to say is black has more cash money, right?
Yes.
And white has to basically make a choice. Can I make enough territory at the bottom, or if we just continue adding one move at a time, then will I fall behind in points? And so probably white chose that it's time to make a fight, to kind of say like, hey, I have this thickness, you took all this cash, what are you gonna do for me, right?
Yeah. Also, question. Does light mean like, what did he say? Does light mean like you can sacrifice that part, or does light just mean you can like run to many places?
Yeah, kind of both, really. So light just means that this is such a bad definition. I'm so sorry, chat. And you, Opal. Light just means not heavy, which basically I like to think of it as it's more flexible to play. So for example, there's like so many, possible variations that you can, so many possible continuations that no matter what your opponent plays, and let's just have a move here, you always have some kind of recourse, right? Like this stone is not going to get captured in one move. And so you always have a decision of what to do with it. And that's what I mean by light. As opposed to like when this stone was a peep and then it got heavier and heavier, now these stones are less light. Like you can't easily sacrifice them, and you can't necessarily easily make sabaki with them. Which is to say, playing lightly, running away, cutting off half your stones, like whatever works, man. That's the kind of vibe I get with sabaki. Please do not take that to the grave and like use that as your functional definition for sabaki.
Okay.
but it's basically I would say flexibility, right? It's the options that you have with the stone.
It's basically like a track star. Yeah.
Sorry, a what? A track star?
Yeah.
Oh, like the sport that I totally. Yeah, okay, for sure. Yeah, exactly. It's really nimble, right? It's light, it's nimble, it can move freely. Yeah, exactly. It's a good analogy. Not one I would have easily thought of, so I appreciate that. Okay, so light is low commitment, high potential. High potential for what, I guess?
Like, I think, like, high potential to, like, go somewhere or make territory. I think that's what.
Yeah, maybe. Look, chat. Sabaki is what you make of it. That's our present to you, and by our I mean literally just me. Words are important, memes are important, dreams are important, sequences are important, breeding power is important, but at the end of the day, it's about the Go you want to play. To me, my definition of Sabaki is just like you can. It's really flexible way of play, or yeah. Okay, so the time has come. White has asked the question, what are you going to do about the 3 stones in the center? Black has responded with, I don't know yet. So I'm just going to Tanuki. Rather than make any more exchanges, that would...
dangerous for some reason.
Yeah, no, it totally is, I guess, depending on how you look at it, right? Black is saying, like, if you want to keep adding stones in the center, like, by all means, keep adding stones in the center. I don't know exactly how Black will play this direction-wise. Probably this one, right? Gives the most pressure. But it's basically saying Tanuki is also a form of not making any exchanges that you don't want to make. Because remember, in Go, when you play a stone, you can't move it, right? So they have a relative permanence about them. And so instead of basically making any decisions that Black might regret later, and whether they turn out to be good or bad decisions, Black is just saying, I'm going to take another vital point on the board. And White does the same. So it's very much like a conversation of like, no, I'm right. I don't know if they're necessarily arguing between right and wrong, but they're definitely like kind of trading punches a little bit here. Like White punch Black in the center, Black punch White on the bottom. White is, I guess, punching Black on the right side. So the meaning behind this move. So when you attach to a stone, you both get stronger, right?
Yes.
And so if you just imagine this kind of, I'm pretty sure Black should Hane here, but White got a little bit stronger, right? There's also the opportunity for, Black to get this kind of end shape. These are like relatively common-ish sequences, right? But Black gained territory and White gained this like 5th line stone, right? Or a couple of them. Mm-hmm. But what this means is I'm getting stronger in the center. So it's kind of vaguely, as vague as this arrow, pointing the finger at these 3 stones a little bit, and that's why White's willing to have that kind of sequence happen.
So
and White
it just like kind of threatens the 3 black stones on top, right?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty vague-ish threat. It at least locally says that I'm willing to give you territory, because Black did gain some points here, right? That Black didn't have before White attached. Fully have, I should say. In exchange for some strength here. And generally, strength should not be used to make territory. It should be used to pressure your opponent. So that's kind of what White's message is. I don't know if it's really an effective message saying I'm going to get you over here, but certainly I think it's a reasonable exchange, right? This is why it's locally, like these 4 moves are generally considered like an even variation, similar to Joseki, and then it just comes down to the user to use them in the right situation, right?
Great.
Black disagreed with me. So Black's like, I'm gonna wedge. Normally this wedge is when you have both ladders, is when you can wedge like this, because like you can get this one, or like, forgive the sequence doesn't really matter, but you can get this one. That's generally when the wedge is used. But in this situation, Black does not have both ladders. So it's interesting to see the wedge. What I reckon this is Black saying, give me more territory, and maybe something like, I don't know how much White will commit to this. Maybe, It's hard to say. I'm not really sure what to play here as white. Maybe something like this seems like a lot of territory to give. Or maybe white can play like this.
You know what would be great?
Tell me.
Ladders.
What?
Also, do you know what's magical about ladders?
Please tell me.
You can just walk around the city with a ladder and you can get into anywhere.
Yo, I think I saw a TikTok about that.
Yeah, like walk into like the movie theater and then like they wouldn't even stop you.
Walk in with a ladder and walk out having watched Barbenheimer. I like the way your mind thinks.
No, Barbie. Oh my god, Barbie is so great.
Barbenheimer. You gotta watch them both. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the game, as black expected, right? Because black basically wanted white to say, well, okay. So do you remember this variation in which white got that kind of influence on the outside?
Yeah.
But black only got this much territory, right? Black is saying with these moves is if you really want that, you gotta pay for it, right? I'm gonna give you more thickness, but you have to give me more territory in exchange. So instead of getting stopped here, black is now getting access to this area as well, but white has more thickness, more strength on the outside relative to that. So that's kind of the local trade-off. And so black is again basically pointing the finger at white saying, hey, prove it, you know, I have more points than you. Prove it to me that you're winning this game. Prove to me that you can attack this and make sure I don't do anything funny with the ko here if black plays first. So white extends because this is good shape. And white hanes, which I guess is cool. So, okay.
Cool.
So like, okay, I've made this mistake in the past where I get some modicum bit of like thickness on the outside, right? I'm like, okay, look, I gave you territory, I have thickness, I'm gonna use it now. Like I'm gonna start some kind of fight immediately, right? But I've often neglected like just how big it is to get these kinds of like Ataris in, because it, like if you imagine like black being able to continue on, and I'm not saying black should do this now, but then these kinds of stones start to look heavy and alone, right? Because they were cut off. So basically what I'm saying is this kind of scenario is like maybe obvious now, but this move is actually really big. And I've made that mistake many times playing Go, just like underestimating how big this kind of move is. And then similarly, this one, if you were to Tanuki, then this Hane also gets to be pretty annoying to deal with.
Yeah, it does. Also, quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, so what kind... Oh my god. Okay, so how do you define a good shape? Like, I would say like that gets you territory, but like, can't.
How would I define a good shape? I feel like this is gonna sound like such a non-committal answer. I don't know how to define good shape because I think good shape is relative to the stones around it, right? Like you can tell me any shape and I can, if it was just by itself, like I could give you a scenario in which it wouldn't be good. Like a bamboo joint could be like inefficient when maybe you could play the Kosubi instead, or like a table shape instead. Or so basically I was trying to make a diagram, but I literally couldn't think of a shape in which bamboo joint isn't good. But my point is that good shape is just dependent on the stones around it. If you always play good shape, like this is good shape, right? We have the farmer's hat or the tiger's mouth, right? This is good shape, but in this situation it's not good shape because nothing is trying to prove the connection between these stones. Nothing is trying to prove the life and death of these stones. It's really good eye shape, but like you have already good territory, right? You don't need eyes. But I would say the good shape has like fewer forcing moves can be played against it. It's not something that can, so for example, between A and B we have an old game on, right? And this shape is not famous for connecting things. So we can say, hey, you have quite a few weaknesses between here. There is a lot of cutting possibility. But if we somehow add a stone here, it gets to be better shape, right? But we also added a stone here. So I would say it's hard for me to define what good shape is.
Also, we're not avoiding the question. We just have Asian parents, and we're naturally good at it.
It's true. I feel so seen by you because like I have a lot of Asian friends here right now, right? Not with me. They're not imaginary. I'm not weird in that regard, but a lot of my Asian friends are not like subcontinent, like South, like Indian and like brown friends. They're like East Asian friends, right? And like half the time they'll deny that I'm like Asian, and I'm like, yes, technically I was born here, but they're like, India isn't really Asian. I'm like, who are you? I digress. I was not trying to dodge the question though. I just didn't have a good answer for it. Okay, so white Hanes anyway, because we understand that black's Hane and double Hane would be painful. And so white secures the connection, makes thickness in the center. And this is like, I shared a variation way earlier on the left side on how black can give this one stone and get this kind of double Atari.
Yes.
Or sorry, white can give up that one stone and get the double Atari. It's pretty much a similar situation. This is basically cleaning up like, instead of playing something like this, which allows for better endgame, I guess, for white, or for black, white kind of cut it off here and then said, yeah, I'll give you this stone, no biggie. And then proceeds to make some endgame exchange against the corner, which also protects the cutting point. And then comes back to the left. This move, this kind of attachment, I swear to you, I have not seen it in so like, have you ever been in a situation where someone points something out to you and then you can never unsee it or unhear it? Like you're just super like cognizant of it from then on. Like, for example, like lip smacking. Have you ever had a friend that like chews really loudly or something?
Oh
and then,
my
like,
God,
after
stop.
you hear it, it was a bad example, but I couldn't undo it. Or like had a teacher that pronounces something a certain way and then you can never unhear it. Similarly, I've seen this move so much lately. Maybe when I was like binge studying the previous Kifu from this tournament, I've seen Chen play it a lot. I've seen it in AI analyses earlier. This has always been a testity, right? I'm not saying like, wow, AI is, it's not like that. It's more like I've never really been aware of this kind of move until recently. And now it's like kind of recency bias. Like I start to see it everywhere. So, hey, maybe I'm learning something.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
pretty big.
it's like when you learn a new word, it just like starts appearing everywhere in your life.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar to that. So like once I see this thing, and I won't say I've fully learned it, like maybe I can't produce it on my own, but I'm starting to become aware of it. So I think we're
it's like when I learned the word like patriarchy in 2nd grade, my teacher asked me to do this worksheet and I was like, is that supposed to be some patriarchy?
And now you see the patriarchy everywhere. It makes sense. It just makes sense. Some things just make sense. Okay, let's think about why white played this move, right? As you can see from the sequence of moves, it's a squeeze. It's another sacrificial move. So remember, white gave up. I'm circling the wrong thing. White allowed black to get this much territory. Allowed is a strong word. Black took it and white allowed. Well, I mean, white didn't. Basically, at the end of the shape, white got supreme thickness here, and black got some like sizable points here. But thickness has to be used to do something, right? Like you can't make points with it because black, you already lost so many points with it that you have to make at least this many points. And by doing that, you have to like play extra moves because it's the center, and that's super inefficient, right? So as a whole, we've decided that thickness should not be used to make territory like that because it's less efficient, right? Because you could just make territory faster on the side. You don't need to make thickness and get it in the center. So it has to be used to fight, right? So black carved out this territory, basically forcing white to use their thickness. And the way white has to use their thickness is to make more of it and attack these 3 stones. They have become the center of this fight. Okay, so white plays this press and black plays this Atari, and white just naturally flows around it, and black captures, and white Ataris again. And the reason behind this Atari is like, hey, what about this? Aren't you afraid of this, white? Like, but white is saying that, aren't you afraid, black? Like, you played a move, and if I win this this move is gonna look absolutely horrendous, right? So that's why white is not really scared to play this Atari. Even now, I struggle to make moves like this because I'm like, what happens if I get cut? And you have to always also not be a full coward and think about it like, what happens if your opponent gets cut, or what happens if you don't get cut and you get a move? Like, it's pretty crazy to start thinking this way, because once you do, you get, I wouldn't say unlimited power, but it's a big boost in your skills. So white offers the ko, and black does not touch it one way or another. Obviously, black should not connect outright. Like, even if black didn't want the ko, like maybe extending or something like that to lessen the aji. I don't even know locally.
Try a tiger's mouth, but I feel like that would be just like a bit weak and like not connected.
You mean like this?
Yeah.
So I think this is good shape, and I think it's strong shape, but I also think that it's very passive. Like now white, I don't know what white will play locally, but basically white can even Tanuki because white got the benefit of this move. So this move's benefit was to basically make black respond. And if black responds, then this is a good exchange for white. Literally in terms of points, black loses some points by playing like this. So white is already satisfied. Even if white loses this one triangle mark stone, white has gained enough. So if you were to play this move, Opal, I think that Eric would be quite happy, quite pleased with the Atari. Yeah, it's weird. It's like a battle of wills. Like, you gotta kind of punch back a bit, not to be too violent. So black plays this really, 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 the word I want to use is probably not child friendly. This really cool, awesome, fantastic BAMF move. That was a dated term. Yeah. And it's basically saying, if you play this Atari, I have this double Atari. If you play this, I get this forcing move, and I get some aji, right? I can start making some.
Oh my god.
Some annoyances for you. I don't really know what to play, but the idea is that black's going to use these two stones to make some kind of exchanges and maybe bust through somewhere.
Like, when someone starts doing that during a game, I'd like get so upset and I'd be like, I will cry. But anyways.
We cannot cry. We cannot cry in the face of our fears. So generally speaking, the most strong response to a clamp is to connect solidly on one side. Generally speaking, again, these are rules of thumb, because now black doesn't get this move for free. Before, if you play like this, it's an Atari, right? And white has to connect. But if you just connect from the get-go, then this cut is no longer an Atari, and you can play a different move to it. It's like saying, remember this shape? If I play like this, you play here, right? So this is one shape. But if you just connect first and black plays here, chances are white's not going to play this one. So it's the same shape, but now white has more options to play. And I don't know what they should be, mind you.
That looks, if white goes there, right? Black would just extend down, right? I feel like.
If white goes there, can you use coordinates, please? Sorry.
Oh, if white goes, where you just put the stone.
Okay, black will escape. Yeah, I totally think that's true, and I totally know that it's not a ladder. So I was thinking maybe white can play some kind of net situation. So assuming black plays this Atari once, if black plays here, black will get captured, right?
Like this. But like, and what about? I feel like black would rather choose.
Yeah, and that's reasonable. That's a good idea. So maybe this Atari, and then black has to capture, and this Atari, and black has to connect, and then I don't know. So maybe black is saying, "Are you comfortable with your group at the top and the right?" It is a blob, honestly. Look, this is just one variation. If I was saying like, hey, white's gonna play the strongest way and cut you, I'm not 100% convinced that white even has to cut immediately. This was just one cut the yomi variation. Get it? Because cut the yomi. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, black clamps and white connects on this side, and therefore if black were to cut, it looks more like this. And so white has better shape to handle this cut than the other one.
That looks way more like comforting, honestly.
As white, is that how you feel? Okay, cool. No, that's
both
totally
sides, honestly.
For both sides, it looks comforting for both sides.
I'm just like scared of fighting, It's like peace and love.
Peace and love. Unfortunately, I don't think you can go very far with peace and love and go, because unless you're always playing people that are significantly weaker than you, At some point, there has to be some kind of conflict on the board, or it doesn't have to be that way. If both people are peace and love, then one's just going to lose by like any number of points. But the idea is you can embrace peace and love as a style, but at some point, if you're behind on points, you have to do something. Otherwise, you're just going to end the game and lose peacefully and lovely. That wasn't a word. Okay, let's go back to the
honestly,
game.
like the tiniest and like the tiniest looking kids, they play like so aggressively. Like I'm honestly scared. Children
in general play super aggressively, and it's so cool, and I could never do it. As a kid, I'm pretty sure I played really aggressively, but they just have no fear. They don't overthink. It's just like, yeah, no, I got this, and just cuts, like whatever, things will work out fine. It's good. It's a good thing to have, especially as a kid. You improve so quickly and you get so much experience, and that gets transferred into actual long-term like storage memory so easily that as a kid, I think you should play exactly as recklessly as you want to. Okay, so Black made this exchange and then did not. Okay, so I'm told that we have to catch up with the game. Something exciting must be happening. So let's go through these next moves. So Black just played this as one-off exchange, like he didn't make the group heavier. So let's see. White jumps out. Black asks, "Are you going to connect?" And White does. And Black comes out, and White honeys, and Black turns. So Black is always trying to connect outwards, and White is always saying, "I will not let you do so." And so now Black cuts here. And the reason that Black cuts here is trying to capture one of these stones, trying to come out to the center. And also it's like a good eye shape, and White didn't defend that weakness, right? It's a reasonable looking move to cut here. So White saves that one, and Black is not done yet. Black is saying, even if you save here, I'm going to play this Hane, and now these stones are captured, because no matter how White plays, Black will capture White. That's generally what captured means. So White has to extend once, and Black also extends once, and White Hanes. It's pretty much saying that this stone is at like the perfect spot, that it would be too painful to have to play empty triangle and stuff.
Yeah.
Is the message. And so White Hane is here, and Black crosscuts. And the meaning behind this Black crosscut is basically saying, if you do something like this, I'm going to capture your 3 stones.
Oh.
Even if you Atari, you can't escape anymore. So Black has the vital point in everything, and obviously this is a self-Atari. It seems like the game is actually over, so let us try to go through it in a little bit more quicker fashion, and also see, I guess, what exactly was the story of this game, because it ended quite abruptly. So basically the story is that Black has to make life in the center, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. If Black makes life in the center, the game is over, because Black has all the points everywhere else. And White has to capture. So Black is getting these forcing moves and these Ataris. And now Black is playing again these forcing moves, forcing White to capture. Black is cut with Sente basically. So now maybe Black might switch his focus to the top side. And so he does. So now he's saying, Uno reverse, I'm trying to capture your group. You were trying to capture me, please.
Okay. And
so now the story is, can White win this capturing race between Black's group here and White's group on the right? It's not a question that should be answered like right away. But here's the end of the game. So maybe it was a question to be answered right away.
So the 3 whites are dead, but I'm not quite sure about the other ones. Honestly.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So if these 3 white stones are dead, right?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think that just like Black is like alive in the center, probably.
Yeah, very good. And if Black is alive in the center, or mostly alive, is Black. Sorry, are the 3 white stones dead? Hang on. Yeah, right. Because if White plays here, what would you play, Opal? Real quick.
I would J12.
Yeah, good job. No, like for real. Like my instinct was to play here, and I was like, "Are the stones dead?" But then I was like, "Hang on, why did I gotta do that?
Yeah.
Let's make some shape." Yeah, so these stones are dead, right? So if these stones are dead, that means that Black stones are alive. Which means what else, though?
It kind of like compressed like White's territory. I would.
This is the hint.
Oh wait, so that part is alive right now?
Right, these parts are alive now, which means that White is cut off. And now this side on the right side, unless white can connect out, which I don't think white can. But again, I haven't read all the liberties and everything. Theoretically, this white group is dead too.
Okay, what if white comes out at J14?
J14 here?
Yes.
And if black plays here?
Yeah.
I don't know how much it changes insofar as like even like this, it's the same story of this being the Atari. On the other side, the cut can theoretically be interesting, but after this Atari, then black can always come back and capture. But my only question would be like, can white theoretically make an eye here because this is Sente? It's not Sente because white can't play this one. Never mind. Even if white can make one eye, it's not two eyes,
It's
right? We need two eyes.
Yeah.
So that's the story of the game. So white could not capture black in the center, and that's pretty much the main takeaway. And then the added benefit is that white also died on the right side. But even if this group lived, if black is alive in the center, I think black is pretty solidly ahead on points.
That's great.
Oh, white can break the net. Sorry, let me see. J14. We have the thing. Sorry, white J14 instead of K13. I think we did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was told that white can break the net, so let me try to break the net. So now all these moves have to be Atari, right?
Yeah, I bet.
I don't.
I feel like if I were white, I'd go up, but like that doesn't. I feel like it's not helping.
What do you mean by up? Sorry.
Oh yeah, just where you just went.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seemed I couldn't see a way in which white breaks the net, but basically the idea is that the story, right? Let's focus on the story of the game real quick as a brief recap of the game itself. Is that we have a balanced opening, right? And I'm not really one to speak to the opening. My opening is actually horrible. This is inviting black to take the corner. Black takes the invitation. White gains thickness on the outside. And this was just like a clever exchange. And so white gets some really good thickness on the outside. It might even be just, I don't know. But white gets thickness on the outside. And now if I were black, I would have added a move, but I also have seen how the game ended up.
That corner, like, it's still like they just ditched it, I feel like.
They did. And it was definitely a choice by black. Remember, black got like a few moves on the outside. It's a stylistic preference, I guess, but maybe AI will tell us differently. But it is a really, really big move, this Hane connector, Hane in this shape. I'm still curious about G18. I would love to interview Chen and just like ask him, Mike, I should say. The peep was played, and then this group got heavy. That's another big point to point out. Then they fight this ko, and then these exchanges are made. These are reasonable exchanges. And then white is attacking black. But this attack only means something if black feels attacked, right? And so maybe black does feel attacked, but when you get stronger, you get like this feeling of calm, you know? You're like, nah, I can wait. This isn't a problem, right? So you counterattack. And
that's what I think until I miss an Atari and die.
So everyone's way of losing a fight or they're having their bluff called is different, right? But black is basically saying, I'm going to get all this cash, and in the meantime, you can keep telling yourself you're attacking me. That's kind of black's attitude, right? And so white is trying to do so. White is trying desperately to prove it. And black now chooses the timing of, hey, like, yeah, I can play a few moves at the bottom, but now's the time to really bring this apace. Like with this move, he might have even been aiming for this cut later on. I'm sure he couldn't have read it from here, but like it's always a benefit. That's why we have this kind of probing move. And so now the question is, can you kill me in the center, white? Because there's no like, and it really does come down to killing, because in Go, really you shouldn't attack to kill unless you absolutely have to. But on the rest of the board is pretty much occupied, and black has territory, a lot of it. So white really has to be decisive in trying to kill black here. Because even if white gets, so imagine black lives with a few points here and white gets this big thickness here. What's the best white can do with it, right? Like you have to capture this one stone. You have to make sure black can't play here. Like it's not going to amount to any real attack or points. So that's why white does feel does feel pressured to basically capture this group. So black found the timing to cut off this white group at the top, which is important, as we come to see, and in Sente, because it's an Atari.
So and is he, like in the lead right now?
Is white in the lead? Black is in the lead, yeah.
Oh.
I would say so. And black has always been in a territorial lead, I think. I could be wrong. And basically black is basically saying, I'm going to get more and more and more and more and more territory, and you have to basically kill me in the center. You have to get a lot of points in the center because I have the points everywhere else. And so it's kind of like the ultimate, I wouldn't say bait, but it's definitely an ultimate way of playing. Like, you can have all the influence, but if I break it in the end, the game is over. And so that's kind of the story of what happened here. White separated black here in Sente. And even right now, it would be like, I would feel more pressured as white because it seems like black has more liberties in the center that white does than white does here. So even regardless of this stone, maybe not fully regardless, it feels like a capturing race already. And black just has the added benefit. That's my variation, forgive me.
I mean, Go is all about catfishing, so.
I wouldn't know about it. What do you mean by Go is all about catfishing?
Anyways, wait, I do have an actual question though.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, why did they choose to like go fight in the center when the bottom side is like open?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a good question. My idea would be that you want to see what your opponent does, because so if you play a move in the bottom side, it's a big move, no doubt, right? You get some points here, but if your opponent also plays big moves, then you might lose the chance to attack. You might, these are not reasonable moves. Like, white probably shouldn't play this one. White should at least go for the cut. But the idea is that you might lose the chance to attack, and that if you play big moves, and your opponent plays big moves, like, chances are the territory balance won't change. And so if the territory balance doesn't change, black is already winning on territory before this, right? Because white has this thickness, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea is that it's a big move to play on the bottom side, but it's bigger to use. It's more urgent. It's more urgent to use your thickness because you paid for this thickness. The price you paid for your thickness is this, right? You gave black all this, and black still has a co in the top left. So you basically have to prove that it was worth it. And if you never get to prove it, then you're automatically at a disadvantage, if that makes sense. So that's probably why white played towards the center. And then black is saying, I don't want to prove you right. I don't want you to make use of your wall yet. So I'm going to Tanuki. And if white wants to Tanuki and plays like this, then black can also keep Tanuking. And the idea is that if you add so many more stones, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and however many more to actually capture this, then I'm going to gain that much benefit at the bottom in a different area.
Oh.
So that's kind of like the idea. But it's a really good question because I don't know when to Tanuki something. I'm like, is this a sacrifice? How many stones is too many stones to sacrifice? Is a great question. I think that came up from previous streams. But yeah.
Wait, so are they eventually gonna go to like the bottom?
Are they eventually gonna go to the bottom side?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would say so. Like, if white kept adding stones here, then black would continue on the bottom side, I'm pretty sure. Because now that white is saying, I'm really committed to capturing you, then the top side gets smaller, right? So eventually, if everything happened, this side would have been settled, but it didn't come to it. The fight came to a head before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But that seems like the story of the game. It's more like Mike was like, hey, I'm going to take all this territory, and what are you going to do about it? Like, how are you going to use your strength that I gave you? And in the end, he made life and attacked, and he was very slippery. I would say Mike was slippery in this game, but also calculating. He took every point he could and really put the burden of proof on his opponent. And that's really hard to play against, to be honest. I hate playing against that style. But I like fighting too. So yeah, that seems to be the story of this game.
Oh my god. Wait, why is the what?
Why is the what, sorry?
No, wait. Like a second ago, when I say something, it would repeat it again.
Yeah, I heard that too. I think that was probably Mike, Devin's doing. But yeah, chat. Great commentary. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much. And I apologize, chat, for any kind of mistakes I would have made in reading. But it is what it is.
I have obliterated the host, but I am back. Thank you guys so much. You're gone. Unfortunately, it seems like only one audio, either mine or theirs, can come on stream at a time. But it'd be nice to have them on stream at the same time. They're in the back. I can see them smiling. They're happy. They did a great job. I hope you guys had fun. Of course, Chen did great job. Really played strong, as expected. So tomorrow's the final. We have some other exciting commentators for you. I kind of debated you guys yesterday, saying this morning we'd have a tournament. We didn't, or around. And then that this morning we would have Benkyo and Telegraph Go, aka Nate Morris, who competed in the tournament. This time, tomorrow though, sorry, not this time, tomorrow in the morning, for the morning round, the first round of the day, we will have Nate and Benkyo. So that'll be really exciting. And yeah, we'll have to watch and see. Can Zishan do it? Can Zishan play a perfect, victory, just all out, win every game? What's it called? A helm run, slam run, something like that. Speed run. We'll find. Yeah. But until then, we'll see you guys. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.